When it comes to Commander and other formats that are casual and players enjoy playing, sometimes you have to look at those reserve list cards out there that can be fun, but can also make a really big mess. When the prices are this low, it gets very hard to ignore the reserve list. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thanks a lot for hanging out with me on the channel today. When we think of the reserve list, and you think of those 572 cards, how many are actually expensive? I guarantee you start looking around, more than 60% of the cards fall into the $1 to $5 slot. They're just cheap, worthless cards nobody really cares about. Then there's those kind of lower level ones that are like 10, 15 bucks. They're kind of playable in certain formats. Then you get the 30, 40, $50 level ones. Then you get to a couple of $100, 500 bucks. You're talking, you know, dual lands, and it goes on and on until you hit the Black Lotus level, and then you know you've arrived, right? You've made it. Guys, you don't have to have the expensive cards, but you do have to have some cards. When you start looking at the amazing cards provided on the reserve list, and when you're playing in casual formats, I have learned recently that I can mess a lot of people up. I can have a lot of fun, enjoy the game, and I can survive in a game of Commander with some janky, crazy stuff that people don't expect anymore. And depending on if your play group is playing with like Vampire, Tribal, or they got an Angel deck like I have as well, you can mess those decks up. It takes one or two cards or ways of finding those cards, and you can have a blast with this. So I'm going to go ahead and show you some cheap, well, moderately cheap reserve list cards that you can get your hands on. Create a mess of a good time while you're playing. I mean, enough of this. Enough talking. Let's get down to it. Well, here we are, starting out with Nova Pentacle from Legends. Nothing says love than redirecting damage. Now, $80 Canadian for a near mint copy. I remember this thing being like 20 bucks. Right around that 2020 era when everyone ignored this card. It does see some play, and I mean the average price being around $65 US, 56 euro to get this card into your house. But when you take a closer look at what the card actually will do for you, it is from Legends. It is a 4 generic casting cost, you know, great artifact, which means artifacts like this can go into any deck. 3 and tap it. Redirect damage done to you from one source to a target creature of opponent's choice. Okay, so you're redirecting the damage. But what happens if I don't have any creatures? What happens if I don't have any in play because you've killed everything? Now I'm redirecting that damage. That kind of sucks for you, doesn't it? Because you have to choose something else. And if nobody else has anything left, I guess you're redirecting it onto your own creature. Aw, that's not very helpful, is it? But it sure is a great time to hang out and be very political inside Commander. Saying, who do I want to pick on next? It's a great card, guys. For this cheap price, considering what cards are starting to cost nowadays, looking at the reserve list in a new, fresh light, and realizing these cards haven't jumped up yet. They're never being duplicated. Why would I spend 125 bucks on a card that can be reprinted when I can get something for 60 bucks that's never coming back and does have some playability? We love you, Nova Pentacle. You're awesome. All right, Tanos' Coffin. Now, 280 bucks is getting a little steep. I get it, guys. I do have a few pricier cards on the list, and that's for moderately played. But the Brothers' War is coming up. This is Antiquities, and this is a card that I've sauced up a few people back in the day with. It can be a lot of good times when you look at what this bad boy is going to do for you. Now, it's again a 4 generic. Now, the writing's pretty small, even for you guys probably where you are, but it says 3. Select a creature in play. That creature is considered out of play as long as Tanos' Coffin remains tapped. Kind of cool right there, isn't it? I can take a creature out of play, board wipe everything, and then later on I can bring this creature back. It's an amazing thing. Now, remember, these things always have a hiccup too, right? When you see this kind of text, you got to read everything. Hence, the creature cannot be the target of spells and cannot receive damage. Look at all this special text they're putting in. Use special powers, attack, or yeah, I get it. But remember this, guys. If the coffin goes, the creature goes. That's the gist of it. Okay. Be careful with cards like this, but there's always a but, right? I look at this card and I love it. I think it's fantastic. I have a couple of them. I do have it in a Commander deck. This thing is spicy. It's fun. It says, yeah, I care. I care enough to save my own creatures, obliterate the battlefield, and end everything around you. And then I'm going to bring my creature back. So deal with it. I love this card. I'm sorry. Tanos' Coffin is just so underrated. Now, Argivian Archeologist. This card, again, is more expensive, but it's gone through a lot of buyouts. It's a favorite of certain YouTubers out there. Rudy. I look at Argivian Archeologist from Antiquities and I say, okay, $350 Canadian for a near mint copy. That's pretty steep. I would look for a heavily played, something cheaper. The market there is around 266 US, 139 euro overseas. It's had a lot of ups and downs recently. The price is drifting slightly down from where it was from that last big buyout it had that it's never really recovered from on a TCG Player. And there are some cheaper copies on TCG. You guys can take a look. And remember, please, everyone, if you're using TCG anytime to buy cards, please use my affiliate link. It helps the channel out. It's cheap to do. It doesn't cost you anything, actually. You just got to click the link in the description of all of my videos for my TCG affiliate, and I'll get some kickback from that. It helps the channel out. I appreciate it. Now, the Argivian is a fun card. The only thing people got to forget, is it says tap. See how it says tap to bring? So you have to use the mana and tap the guy. So it's a one-time use. People always kind of forgot that. Tap to bring one artifact back from the graveyard to your hand. We used to bring back Chaos Orb, I'll be honest. But built in the right type of deck, with the right type of artifacts, with the right type of synergy, bringing back the appropriate artifact to end all life as you know it can be so much fun. Things like Neverindle's Disc. There's lots of reasons to bring artifacts back. And all you need is a few ways to bring the Argivian Archeologist back as well. Now, just so you know, I was going to give you a quick little tale. A couple of weekends ago, I was playing. I didn't have the Argivian Archeologist. It was off to the side. And I went with a Ring-a-Maroof. And I went and got an Argivian Archeologist out. And I brought him into play. And I had a blast with him, too. I didn't bring back Chaos Orb, though. I was just bringing back a whole menagerie of awesome artifacts I needed. So he was a lot of fun. I mean, I love that card, okay? He's amazing. He's got his shoes tied. He's done right. He's done right. Now, our next card, Force Field. This is the most expensive card on the list, but I'm going to mention it because collector's edition ones can be found for $300 near mint. You can find a beat-up one for like $220, $230. $800 Canadian for moderately played. But you guys have to remember, this card for a long time was like $200 to $300. Collector edition ones were $15. I know because I have some. When you look at Force Field, it says 1. It's a poly artifact, which means you can use as much as you want. Mono artifact means once. Poly artifact means more than once. Poly, you know? 1. Lose only 1 life to an unblocked creature. So you let the creatures go through, I lose 1 life. The rest of the damage is just prevented. That's what a Force Field does. In Commander, that is an amazing ability to have. That gives you an edge on the players around you who have these giant honking creatures you can't deal with. You now have breathing room, you have space, and they've got to deal with that Force Field. And they probably do have a way of dealing with it. Probably at least one player at the table does. Cards like this are very, very underutilized. And when players see them for the first time, or even the second, third, or 50th, especially if they don't own one, they go, what is going on with this card? If you can't afford the expensive one, I understand. I understand. So go ahead and get the $300 one. Save yourself a nickel or dime. Collector edition ones, man. Awesome. Love this stuff. Okay. Next card. Next card. Okay, Earthcraft. $165 Canadian near mint. Now, that's here locally in Toronto. It's from Tempest, guys. It's a little more, again, not as expensive as some of the other cards, but look what it does. When you bring a card like this, you say, I'm coming to have fun. I want to enjoy myself, and I want to tap an untapped creature I control to untap a target basic land. So even a creature that does not tap for mana is now adding to your mana supply. It doesn't have to be an elf that taps for 1 green. You now can untap the basic lands you need to get things going. People kind of forget about this card. It is kind of pricey. It's been trending down just recently, which is why I'm mentioning it. It's at a good point and very affordable. But when I look at that and see how it can affect the outcome of a game, a deck that's short on mana and just has a couple of mana out, any multicolored deck that can throw out and throw this card in as an enchantment is going to have a happy day. That's all I'm saying. Happy days. I mean, 150 bucks US, market's like 164, and it's 102 euro. It's definitely an expensive card, I get it, but when you look at a double flip trip Masters pack for 100 bucks, and I choose between the two, I'm taking Earthcraft 10 times out of 10. All right, guys, our next card is the Ansarin Ruins. These cards are messy, okay? This card is like $5. Don't tell me you don't have $5 to afford a cheap, worthless Homelands card to treat yourself. I remember this card was 30 cents, by the way. When you take a look at Ansarin Ruins, look what this thing does. 2 red and 2 generic. Choose a creature type. Not just like a particular creature. Choose a creature type. Creatures of that type do not untap during their controller's untap phase. All your goblins are done. All your slivers are done. I get it. They can have vigilance. They can have other things that work around it. But cards like this can mess people up. They're not prepared for this stuff. I've seen it happen, and it is hilarious. And by the way, you do get targeted, and you'll probably get killed. But you'll have a good time on the way down, unless you build a deck that can withstand all that, is all I'm saying. I'm working on it. I'm working on something like this. It's a $5 guide. It's $5. It's cheap. Next card, Pendril Mists. If you cannot afford yourselves a Tabernacle of Pendlevale, which of course is, $3,000-$4,000 Canadian, you can look at this $21 cheap replacement card and say 1 blue, 3 other. Each creature gains during your upkeep, pay 1 or bury this creature. You're asking why you would use this card? Because you don't put it in a creature deck. You put it in your Super Friends deck. You put it in your Planeswalkers because you don't care about creatures. And if you care about them later, you find a way of unsummoning this card and saving it, or nuking it and bringing it back some other way to get it out of your way when you're ready. Because why not tie up your opponent's mana? Why not make them pay the shekels to keep their cards in play? Well, your super friends are sitting there going, I'm super and I don't need you. And by the way, this is like $21 Canadian near mint. This costs nothing. $17 is the average. The market is $16.20. €11.50. Seriously? Guys, very affordable card. This card reached like $45 Canadian, almost $50 at one point. Look where it's at now. You're at half price. Enjoy. It's a 50% off sale, and it's all for you guys. I love it. Love this stuff. Okay, Mystic Decree. Now, this one I've used in combination. I've mentioned this many times on the channel. This card can be had on TCG Player for like 40 cents. Okay? 40 cents. US. Mystic Decree is 2 blue, 2 other. All creatures lose flying and island walk. Now, you're asking, why is that even important? Number one, you're grounding flying creatures, which is always a good thing. But when you mix this card with things like Island Sanctuary, which say I can skip my draw phase and any creature that doesn't fly can't attack you, you can never be attacked again. And it's a happy, joyous day. You just need to find a way to draw cards in the meantime. You need to have some Planeswalkers out. You got to have a Jam-a-Day Tome, I don't know, Howling Mines, something to get your deck going. But you are stopping. All creatures will lose their flying, and nobody who doesn't have flying can attack you, which means it's like a moat, and you're never getting attacked. I love it. Love this stuff, except you're not paying the high bill of a moat. This was their way of trying to find ways around it, and very cheap. Now, Sliver Queen. This card I've mentioned, and yes, it's had a bit of an uptick from the lows it had before, but $240 Canadian for heavily played copy? Come on, guys. That's super cheap. If you're just looking for a played copy and you want it to be real, then that's what we're talking about. You are going to dive in there and buy a card like this. You're going to say, yep, thank you, got it. Now I can build any type of Sliver deck I want. And you don't need the Sliver Queen. You don't have to have it. There's other options out there. There's First Sliver with Cascade. There's other cool stuff. But most people like to have the figurehead, which is the Queen. And they like to say, I like to have her around. I like to make extra slivers. I like to know she's there. And it's a 5-color commander, which is amazing. Maybe you can use a Timeless Lotus, right, guys? You guys know I hate that card. I'm just saying, making this stuff work, guys, is so easy. And this card has never been cheaper. And when it goes back up to like that $700 level, people will just be filled with regret. And you're like, why didn't I buy it? Why? And you're like, yep, I know. I feel the same way, but I got 4, so I'm good. I got my playset. Now, our last card. Eldamari, the Lord of Leaves. Now, this guy is, he's Commander Legal, unlike Rofellos. $90 Canadian. He has been trending down. This guy was like $180. Look at this. Look at what, come on, guys. When you take a closer look and tell me this card's not worth it for anybody building Elf Tribal. All elves gain Forest Walk. Well, that's just disgusting right there. Elves cannot be the target of spells or abilities. Oh, they all gain Shroud. And by the way, this thing's from Tempest. It only costs 2, and it's a 2/2. So even by today's standards, this card is powerful and sick. And the fact that this card is not $500 it blows my mind. Anyone building with elves needs to get it. There's no more being printed ever, and it's less than $100 a card. That is insane to me. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did today sharing this with you. These cards are so underrated and so cheap, and when you're looking to make a mess, they help you make the mess. I can't say enough amazing things about it. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me today. I can't wait to see what the comments are in the comments section. This is going to be a blast. It's like Christmas in September. I love it. All right, guys, have an awesome day. Enjoy your magic cards. Have a good time. Because you know what? You deserve it. Patrons are amazing. Did you guys know that? If you're a patron of mine, I don't get to say thank you enough. You guys make it happen. Patrons are amazing. Thank you for that support. I know. We're at the end. I'm supposed to have some witty comments and stuff, but you know what it is? After this video, I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to buy some cards because I'm feeling pretty stoked up. And there's cards I want to buy. Some things to augment out some of these commander decks I'm working on. And they're all reserve list right now. So I'm going for them now. Well, they're cheap. Thanks a lot for hanging out, guys. Say cheap reserve list in the comment section. Then I know you're thinking what I'm thinking. Psychic. Special people. You guys know you're special. You know it. I don't need to say it.